Residents in the war-torn Gaza Strip are still suffering from a shortage of food, fuel, medical supplies and shelter. This is despite the announcement on Monday that Israel and Hamas had agreed to extend the current humanitarian truce in the Gaza Strip for an additional 2 days. To show solidarity to Palestine, different political parties and civil society are marching from Mary Fitzgerald Square to the Nelson Mandela Bridge. Natasha Phiri is on the story and joins us now live. Natasha, talk to us about some of the prominent faces that we are seeing attending this march this morning.
Well, very good morning to you, Naledi, of course, to our SABC viewers. We're currently actually at the Mary Fitzgerald Square. We are seeing people slowly trickling in. Of course, various political parties are putting their political differences aside, of course, in solidarity of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. We're actually joined by a political party which was quite, fundamental with this cause. You know, the EFF, Naledi, I think 2 weeks ago had in Parliament tabled a motion for South Africa to actually end diplomatic ties with Tel Aviv, and also had closed for the Israeli embassy. And of course, we know that this motion had actually been passed. Let's just speak to the EFF Secretary in Gauteng, Mr. Moshako. Man, thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. Of course, we saw what happened in Parliament about 2 weeks ago. Yes, your motion was passed, but do you think that the executive will actually implement this motion?
Thank you very much, Natasha. It's up to them. The EFF have done what they could in making sure that we reject the Israel apartheid state out of our country. So it's up to them. We have done what we could. The motion have went through. It's up to the executive to take it through. But us knowing them, we'll see what happens.
We know that there's now a truce between those two nations in the Middle East. I mean, are you in support of an extension of the truce?
The Zionist forces must allow the Palestinians to exist on their own. They must stop killing their children. They must stop bombing the health infrastructures that are happening in Palestine. This is not a war that have just started today. It's a war that have started over 70 years ago, whereby the Zionist forces have tried to expel the Palestinians and took over 78% of their homelands. So we are here today in making sure and push in terms of the international solidarity movements to push the Israel apartheid state to allow the Palestinians to exist in their own well-being.
You just touched on something. What impact do you think this march would actually have, internationally, like you just actually said?
No, as you know, South Africa during its turmoil times, apartheid times, it relied on this type of programs that have pushed the apartheid and made sure that our people get liberation. So in the same space, we believe that this type of programs are going to push and make sure that the outcry of the children of Palestine get heard by all the nations in the world.
And of course, the EFF is in support of a permanent ceasefire.
Of course, the Israel state, the apartheid state of Israel, must stop what they are doing to the people of Palestine. They must cease fire and they must begin talks. But the international community must come in favor and push them to do so.
How important is it for political parties on such a day to put their political differences aside and actually unite under one banner?
We are united against inhuman behavior that is happening in Palestine. It's not about political affiliations and our ideological differences. Today is about the children of Palestine. Today is about the women. Today is about more than 50 journalists that have been killed in Israel. The ambulances that are bombed in Palestine. So today we have to come together in solidarity of all the children that have been murdered by the Zionist forces.
And of course, maybe just lastly, in terms of logistical purposes, how many EFF members are you expecting to actually come and attend this march?
No, we can't give numbers, but we have informed all branches of Johannesburg to come in support of this progressive program that is happening today.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Koma. Of course, that was the secretary of the EFF here in Gauteng, Moshe Koma. I just talking about a number of issues, saying that today it's not about which political party actually belong to, but of course they are in support of the people of Palestine. Prayers are currently being rendered behind us right now, and of course, if I'll just ask my colleague Wazimanzi to actually show you what's going on behind him, Naledi, of course, attendees, various members of various political parties, civil society organizations are now gathering at the Mary Fitzgerald Square. Of course, they'll be making their way to the Nelson Mandela Bridge. And I think what's symbolic and what's of emphasis with this march is that, Naledi, for those who don't know, in 1997, given a speech on the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, the late former President Nelson Mandela had actually reaffirmed his support with the people of Palestine and the Palestinian rights. He had actually said that we know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. So I think that is behind the symbolicism of them actually marching to the Nelson Mandela Bridge here in Johannesburg. Of course, we do expect the Secretary General of the ANC, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, to actually make his way here.